Yo, yo, yo. It's Thursday night. The boys are back in town. I'm your boy, High Five Vega. Dean, who is awesome, just like his daughter. Are you being forced? Are you being forced to wear this? Blink twice if you need help.
Yeah, I think this was the Father's Day present.
Yeah,
You know,
it's always the
but
best ones.
yeah,
A present letting you know how awesome Haley is.
I mean, yeah, like she needs the reassurance. But yeah, oh well.
Yeah,
It was the first shirt on the top of my dresser when I went there. It's like, I need a shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah. So how's it going, man?
It's going. I did literally nothing karate related for the past couple weeks. But
I did everything karate related.
Right, which is good because if people want to stick up or stick around for the next show, I got a lot to talk about what happened during that time. So
yeah, that definitely a lot to unpack there for sure. Yeah, no. So had a good trip to California.
yeah,
We got to it was a 2-part trip. So the first part of the trip was to go out and spend time with Brian Mitchell and work on his tuning process. And then the second part of the trip was to bring everyone out and all go to Disneyland. So we flew the girls out. They met us in Anaheim. So Brian and his girlfriend, all of us drove the 6 hours from where he's at in California, Modesto, down to Anaheim, which is a long drive. Very long drive. Yeah. So it's the metric question there for only Pioneer head units. That's because the head unit is a detached head unit. So Pioneer right now is the only manufacturer that makes a detached head unit. So they have a standalone screen and a separate brain box, which is what was required for some of those dash kits. iData is also making dash kits specifically designed for that old Pioneer radio. As of right now, that's what you got.
So this is getting into Friday morning territory, but
yeah,
I do gotta say, like, I love when people say it's dry heat. Like, bro, it's hot.
So Modesto was like 110.
Yeah.
While we were there, it was ridiculous. And Brian doesn't air condition his install bay.
Oh no.
And it faces the sun, so you got to keep the door closed. So just like he's got a fan, and it was brutal. When we were tuning in his car, it was like a sun. I'm just dying.
Yeah, it's like there is a difference, but hot is hot.
Yeah, hot is hot for sure.
The difference is you can get in the shade and be a little bit better when it's dry heat, but yeah, it's still hot as hell.
Yeah, it was brutal. But no, it was our trip was a lot of fun. I mean, car audio wise, we did a lot of car audio stuff for the first 4 days.
Yeah.
Went to his shop, helped him out on his little remote control car. I felt bad because I was supposed to take a bunch of video of the inside of it. Never got around to taking video of the inside of it because it was like it was just so busy. Like it was kind of weird. One day we did have a couple guys come out, just stop by and say hi, which was kind of cool. That kind of sucked up a lot of time. That was like, but we did get to go to ARC headquarters and spend a lot of time there. Learned a lot about ARC and the processing and I don't mean process as far as what ARC is, how it exists,
right?
The philosophy there. It's a very unique company. It is like no one else because their parent company is a manufacturer. So for those of you familiar with like Powerbase or something like that, Powerbase is a speaker manufacturer that came to the United States to sell speakers because they're their own manufacturer. And ARC is one of those companies that is their own manufacturer. So they manufacture all their own stuff. not here in the United States because nobody does, but they also manufacture other people's stuff like Powerbase does, you know. So it's one of those really unique companies that like makes stuff for everybody else.
Yeah.
And it all comes through, you know, the central design hub. So it's very cool to see the process involved. And everything is very like we could not like they're like, yeah, well, we can't tell you shit. I'm like, who do you make? I'm like, yeah, we can't tell you that, you know.
Yeah, everything that OEM is probably NDA out the wazoo.
Yeah, it's very OEM'd, very private, very like yeah. So they knew we were coming. It wasn't like we just dropped by, so everything got packed away.
Right.
And it was like there's nothing anywhere, there's nothing to see here except for that. You didn't put that away. And I was like, what the hell? And he's like, oh yeah. Well, they didn't buy that design, so it's kind of okay. And I was like, I know that design. I've seen that. Other people had that design. He's like, they may have. And I was like, no, there's no may have. I've seen that other companies with that. And he goes, yeah, you probably have. You know, it got shopped around quite a bit. Somebody has it. And I was like, wow, okay, that's cool.
Well, they should know Dean doesn't spill the beans unless no one told him he couldn't spill the beans.
Yeah.
The only times Dean spills the beans, it's a shock to him that he wasn't supposed to say this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But so one of the really cool things was like in Brad's office. Brad's office is who's the boss and also the lead engineer. He has a lot of the stuff that like he's helped design, help build, help manufacture, help just tons of cool shit. He has one of Zeph's first amplifiers. So just like, you know, Fosgate made his amplifier, this is one of 3 of the original Zeph amplifiers ever made.
Wow.
It's just sitting on a shelf. It's the most ugliest thing you've ever seen. Yeah. It's very sad. And
usually how it is when engineers build something and design it themselves.
Yeah, they have no idea what it is. And you'd look at it and go, I mean, it's probably something special just by looking at everything else that's on the shelf, but it looks like a piece of crap. You know, like did you just forget to put this away? And then he's like, no, this is like one of 3 of the first amplifiers Zeph ever built. The other 2 are in this museum. And I was like, oh, well, that's really cool. You have one, you know, like if the only one that's floating around, that's pretty awesome. So that was cool. But they have, so like Brian gave us that big purple amplifier that isn't really the amplifier that's in it, as we found out. That's a whole nother story. But Brad has these 2 giant circuit boards of amplifiers. They're just sitting on his counter or on his bookshelf, and they're all former amplifiers, but they're all G amplifiers. So you have AB class, A class, D class, G, and H are also amplifier designs. And what makes the G and the H unique is they're still AB class amplifiers, just they perform, they're supposed to perform more efficient because they have a dual rail design. So at low volumes they switch to the low current rails, and at high volumes they switch to the high current rails. And so this is a 4,000 watt sub amplifier that's a G amplifier. And I'm like, wait, why would you do that? And he's like, why wouldn't you do it? And I go, yeah, it's true. He goes, well, when you don't tell us no, we're engineers. We just design stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So it's basically, you know, when you're using it as a normal volumes, it's way more efficient than when you rail on it. It goes to the high dude, it was just cool. It was just neat to see some of this stuff. Plus we got to see all the new shit they're coming out with, which was even cooler.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about them is there's such a small group of people there that like when you're like, hey, what about this? And they're like, what about that? And you're like, I think that would be cool. And they go, I think it would be cool too. They write that shit down, and then they're like, he's a nerd, so he automatically is starting, oh yeah, you know, we could, you know, they're like pulling up shit on the computer, like, you know, we could fit that, right? And you're like, okay, let's do that. I'm going, holy shit, this is cool.
Well, it's great. It's crazy. Like ARC is kind of like your favorite SQ nerd's favorite brand.
Which is their intended purpose. That's
right. Yeah.
Their so I can never remember the guy that owns it. But you know, he's friends with Zeph, and that's why Zeph designs all their products.
Right.
And then Brad makes them all work, is basically how it was explained to me. Because you know, the two work in a very symbiotic relationship as far as that goes. But it's weird because the whole reason why ARC existed was that they made this high-end line, you know, after Zabco got sold. You know, they came out with a high-end line and they were like, what are we going to do with it? And they're like, well, let's just sell it in the US. And because someone sold them that they could sell high-end audio in the US, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And it turned into this because they were like, we need to have this cool product in the US to really benchmark our other equipment. So it's pretty cool, you know.
When the first ARC audio amp I remember was like the SE 2160. It's kind of like a legendary amp by them, and I think they might even still sell it today.
So one of the cool things is that they have half of their warehouse, 2 units in their warehouses is the previous CEO has all the ARC vehicles still in there. And so it's like a little museum that's not open to the public, and you can't go see it. But we got to see it because he came in to show us all the stuff that was in there. So, you know, we got to see a lot of the first ARC audio equipment that was literally like scratch off the Zapco. You know, yeah, it was really cool. So like a lot of neat stuff, just really cool stuff. And you know me, I'm a sucker for anything that like other people don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, here's what we're coming out with. Ooh. Hey, I had that, and they're excited too. That's I always like it when the manufacturer's like, yeah, we're gonna do this. These guys are like, oh, check this out. I went and had this printed just to see if this would look good. And they're like, yeah, what do you think? I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was a lot of fun. What is it? Well, what do you think about?
Well, this will lead into another one. I actually started this.
What do you think about US amps coming back on the scene? I used to sell a ton of them. Yeah. You know, I hurt somebody's feelings talking about US amps. I know that.
And I probably will again tonight.
So I'm gonna just say this. I was never a US amps fan. I was not a fanboy. We didn't sell them back in the height of that. We were still an Orion dealer, and we moved into Rockford, and we moved into Kicker. I didn't know anything about them. I was recently talking to somebody else about them who was into that stuff, and they were like, I want, you know, because he's like, wow, I hear they're using some of the original designs, so that just means you're gonna have a new version of an amplifier that blows up. And I was like, did they have those kind of problems? And he was like, oh yeah. And I was like, I mean, but there again, I also look back and go, everybody's old shit blew up, so I don't know how much that holds.
When it leads into this,
Orion is dead in the water as far as I'm concerned, and I'm with you on that. I think bringing back this old engineer, I don't know what, hey, cool. If it turns into something
but the thing is, with both of these, is what they're showing off is nostalgia and old designs that are not relevant today at prices at amps that are very relevant today. To me, like they were showing off the NT200, which is like a legendary SQ amp from Orion back in the day, right?
Yeah.
But it's a 2-channel surfboard amp, like 22 inches long, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it still looks like. We don't have dimensions. US amps is similar, except I think they're kind of putting US amps in a SQ light, and I never known US amps. They were bass head amps to me.
I was gonna say, I thought they were like some of the first bass head amps.
Yeah, and there were some of the first high current amps, and
and that was why I offended somebody, because they were like, "Bro, these are awesome." These are, and I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not what I remember. I remember.
I think some of these people weren't in the scene at the time. That's why, because they're seeing what's pitched now versus what was the actual truth of the first bass competition I really got smoked at was somebody with digital design subwoofer and a USA 200X Terminator, whatever, the big US amps. And it was just a huge cheater amp, which was fine. That was like all the rage.
Yeah.
But the prices, like the price on that NT200, just on the website, because I was looking at CEO Outlook, and actually Derek shared it with me, and it was like $2,299
for
a 2-channel by 200-watt amp AB, and I'm thinking like that is Moscone Pro money. Like I can get the 5-channel, round about that price, and if I want to spend a little more, I can get the 8-channel.
Yeah,
like
with the DSP.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just I wish him well, because I was always an Orion fanboy, but
that's
I just
stupid.
don't see it happening with US amps or Orion, unless they change up. If they're bringing back and they're going to do some innovation and meet today's standards instead of doing the nostalgia play, I could see that. But if it's all a nostalgia play, well, then that's just all it's going to be. You'll sell 1,000 amps to really dedicated people, and that'll be that.
I mean, back they also had micro XLR cables on them, the original amplifier.
Yeah.
All those amplifiers had that, and they went with their corresponding NT 200 and 300, which were their electronic crossovers. So are they planning on bringing back that? I mean,
I don't know.
What did they? I mean, literally, what did they just dust off the? I mean, I feel like that amplifier wasn't real. I feel like that was one of the old ones, and somebody was just holding it up.
Well, I think that amp, like I've seen that amp in the wild, because I know people that have it and use it, but it was not a common amp. I mean,
no. We never had the purple versions. We had red versions of them.
Yeah. So my buddy in Texas had both, and he did some work on them. They were actually really powerful compared to the rest of Orion amps, but they were so low production. And that's the picture that is shown on the website still, that original, not the new one.
Yeah. Well, the thing is they couldn't sell at the height of car audio.
Right.
When this stuff was like affordable. You couldn't sell them back then. How are you going to sell them now?
Competition right now is so much more fierce than it's ever been in car audio.
Well, okay, so all right, so let's back up the train a little bit, because this is one of those conversations that Fernando and I had recently, because at Knowledge Fest Dallas, they want to do a Legends Award, where Legends of Car Audio, and they want to like all this shit, and I was like, all right, so how do you do this? Okay. So when you look at like for example, Fernando is almost 40 years old. He's been doing this professionally for, I don't know, almost 15 years. I'm 50 something, and I've been doing this since the 90s, actually 89, 90. So you were in it back then. Okay. So you talk to Fernando, and like Fernando's literally talking with Fukuda. Okay.
Yeah.
They're talking. Fernando doesn't give a fuck who this guy is. Like, he doesn't know him from Tom. Okay. Like, they're just talking. And Fukuda finally was like, do you know who I am? He's like, I have no idea who you are, man. He goes, I know all these people are cheesed up to see you, but that wasn't me. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about you. You made this van, from what I'm gathering, and it's a pretty nice van.
Yeah.
But, and I'm like, when you go, okay, Richard Clark or Dave Navone or Fishman or, insert name of old guy here.
Right.
Like, these guys don't know who the fuck these guys are. They're like, bro, like, they're like, we were talking about on the show, it was like Sound Man. And I'm like, sound, like, don't get me wrong, I love Doug.
Right.
I'm like, he's not a classic car stereo god of note. He's just he's like us.
When they say legend, they're thinking like 10 or 15 years ago, not 30 years ago.
Right. And if we're thinking 10 or 15 years ago, yeah, fuck Doug. With Doug, Steve. I mean, hell yeah. I mean, whoever, but that's my point. I'm like, how? So when you look at these brands, okay, and you're like a guy now that sees something that says like Soundstream or Precision Power, okay, he doesn't know about that stuff.
He doesn't know at one point it was actually decent equipment.
Right. They've never seen any of that shit.
Yeah.
And they just see and go, wow, this is reasonably priced stuff. It's pretty cool. There's no nostalgia to be had in these guys. It's just another product, And then some old guy will chime in and go, "Do you think this is like the old stuff?" And I'm like,
"Hope not."
No. Yeah, I had a guy yesterday, really nice guy, came in. He was talking to me about Zapco. We had some of the old Zapco stuff, and he was like, "What do you think about the Zapco DSP?" I was like, "I got one on the shelf I can't use." Okay, yeah. Everyone I know that has one of these things, it's like, it's not the same. I said, "You want Zeph stuff? Go buy Arc."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, really?" Yeah. Zeph's
Zapco is one of my least favorite DSP softwares.
What, Zapco?
The new stuff, even.
Yeah, it is. Whatever.
I mean, it works, but it's not my cup of tea.
It doesn't matter what you did, Doug. Exactly.
Exactly.
That would be perfect line. Yeah. But my point is like when you look at like these US amps and stuff like that, the only guys that are interested in this stuff is the late 40, early 50-year-olds that like, oh, I remember seeing this. Like, come on, who gives a shit?
That's what I'm saying. It's only people in our range that would even consider buying it, and it's a nostalgia play. And you can sell thousands of them that way, but you're not going to continue to sell.
Do you really know what this is?
Yeah, that was one of the original high-end RC cars.
Yeah, so this is an RC10. So this is a re-release they did after SEMA of a prototype. So they made a prototype version of it, followed up by the actual rep. So they're making the old car again. They took their molds, repressed it, and this is a clear version of it. So everything is before it's anodized, before they add the color dye and all that crap. So you could buy it clear. They made, I don't remember how many of them. I was like, oh, fuck, I have the original one sitting on the shelf over here from when I was a kid back in like 88. I just wanted it. I was like $350. It's like my Christmas present. I was like, dude, this is the coolest thing. I want one of these. I will never do anything with it other than put it together and put it on the shelf.
Right.
It's not the coolest thing. It's not the badass that it was back in the 80s. It's just something cool. I also have a grasshopper and a hornet and all that other shit because they were fun. But like I knew people do, like, if you put up a US amp and a down for sound, I guarantee you most people are gonna go buy the down for sound. Okay, because they're like, oh fuck yeah, I want that guy.
For the same power, it's probably a third of the cost, and it has a similar look.
Even if they didn't even look at the cost, they'd still be like, I want that because of him.
Right? You know? Yeah, because they're a fan of the channel or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. These nerds over here going, oh, we should let's fuck all that nostalgia shit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as fuck not going to pay you $2,200 for a nostalgic 1980s designed Orion amplifier. Fuck that shit.
Well, listen, the coldest part about the whole thing about Orion, I, like you, was the diehard Orion guy.
Yeah.
Well, once you started seeing these things on the amp, I'll be like, these dudes are straight up lying to us.
Right. We were using magical fairies back then. Yeah. Like, close enough.
Because they had audio precision back then. They knew what power it made.
Well, they just did math. Yeah, it's close enough.
Exactly. Like, yeah, that's, it's probably 40% off, but it's
fine. Yeah, we can round.
Yeah.
Round it. 40 amps is 400 watts. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. And, I learned that anecdotally. Well, I said that. I learned that myself. Yeah. Switching from two 225 HCCAs to a 2100, which it was double. It should have been the same power, but everyone was saying it would do 1200, 1600. We had no way of telling back then. So I switched to that amp, and it actually only does about 600 at 2 ohms. So I lost like 3 decibels by switching to that amp that I spent $2,000 on and selling my 225s.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Lesson learned right here. Lesson learned.
And Bobby, you're 100% correct. I just want the heatsink. I'm not gonna lie. I don't give a shit about the amplifier. It's like,
yeah.
What do I care? The aluminum is cool. The stuff inside, trash.
I like having them up like for a little display here.
Yeah, they're cool. They're pretty
an old audio bond or audio Vox or something over there.
Well, again, that flies in the nostalgia thing. But when you look at somebody buying this stuff now, it's like, I'm not wasting my money on that shit. That's just stupid. Like, where's the research and development they put into that? Where's the nerds sitting in the background, like blowing shit up and figuring it out? They don't even exist anymore. Like, again, reflecting back on Arc, all the there was nerds there. There was just like antisocial nerds that were doing their things. Like you could see them through the windows, and they were back there and they were doing nerdy shit. And I was like, "Who are those guys?" And they're like, "They're the nerds." And I go, "Okay." And I mean, they came in and they had their lunch boxes and they just went back there and did their nerdy stuff.
The crazy part is that $2,300. I don't. This is just hypothetically because it's on the website. They don't have a product out now. We don't know, but you can get a Blackbird for like $1,800, somewhere 1,600, 1,800, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and it'll kill it.
Well, yeah, what are you gonna choose at that point? It's got the DSP. You don't have to buy an add-on DSP or anything. It's all in one. That's the competition's so stiff at these price points that if they were offering it
for $2,200, you could almost get a Moscone Zero.
Right. Yeah.
Which is an A-class amplifier. I mean, are you? I mean, let's know your market, bro.
Now they may come out, like if they come out with some more competitive amps that are like DSP amps or something to compete with that end, well, that might be a different conversation. But right now, all we see is pure 2-channel amps and maybe a 4-channel.
Well, hey, and there again, at that price point, nobody's going to want them, which is fine.
Right.
But the reality is there is a market for a big 2-channel amplifier in the bass head world.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a 2,000 watt by 2 bass head amplifier is like, hell yeah, bro! I can put like 50 tweeters on that bitch. That's right. Fine.
Or if you're going to do it marine style, because they want to power the big cannons.
Oh yeah.
That would be the two things I could think of.
1650 for the Blackbird. Fine, a 12-channel DSP. Yeah. That's a deal. It is a deal, and it's a shit ton of power. It's so much power. Oh my god, it's so much power. And I got to be honest with you. Like, I don't know why I said that because I'm always honest. It's a fault.
Some might say you're too.
Their DSP software. So I've narrowed it down. I've touched all of them. I like a lot of them. Like there's a lot. Like I was talking to Jeff today, and we were talking about the Helix software, and he's like, he's finding out all the secrets now that he's working there. And it's like, I said, that'd be great because like you have to unlock the mysteries of this for me because it's so weird. Out of the box, like, I don't know. The ARC and the Moscone software to me just make a lot of sense. Right now, I'm playing with the Audison software because we're getting ready to do I was on a wire getting here now because we were putting in the 4.10, the Forza 4.10 in Haley's car tonight because we were filming that because we're going to have Ken Ward do because now I have new software that will, you just put the microphone in the car and it automatically whirly twirlies and does the auto setup from the Forza. So another auto tune. So we're going to have Ken wants to dial in and do it remotely and talk about all the cool features. And we're going to film all that. And that'll be really fun. But we're putting it in Haley's car. So we changed out the speakers to the Forza, to the Prima speakers. We got the Forza amplifier. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it because it's coming off the Kenwood deck. So he's like, cool. You can put an EQ curve in it and I can fix all that. And I was like, it's fantastic. Let's just have fun with this. So really excited about that. Yes, that's it, bro. Accordio. Okay, listen. To every company out there that wants to come up with a dumbass name for whatever it is you're doing, stop. We're Americans. We name our kids Robert and Sam and Tyler. And
Not anymore. It's like Case. Kace.
Yeah, and kelp and but my point is we're the country that made John.
Yeah.
Okay, so made it a Bob, Mike, Tom. Okay, Accordo. What the frick? No, even that Forza name. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Blackbird.
That's the one thing I always give kick a crap about. Oh, this is the KXM12 13.654. Like,
no. Pro is a great name. One, great name.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys. Like,
it's tough when you got so many SKUs, I guess, but still, it's not.
Like, F1 stats. It's too many words. It's too many words. You've been rocking R type and S type forever, and then you come out with, which is like the epitome of basic. Then you come out with status. Why don't we call it supreme? Oh, we can't. I did find out an interesting thing though, since we're talking about names. So here's a funny one that you probably never thought of. You cannot go and like nobody would, but if you could, you would not go buy a Boss Audio shirt, right? You're not gonna like, I'm a big Boss Audio fan, I want to buy a shirt. You cannot physically do that. They can give them away, but they cannot sell them. And you know why? Hugo will sue the fucking shit out of them. They have a deal that says they will never sell apparel. And they got to keep the name Boss. I'm like, are you shitting me? And he was like, nope. That was like day 2. And I go, that is the most craziest thing I've ever heard. But yeah, Hugo Boss was like, pump the brakes, people. So,
dude, the funny thing about Boss, since we're talking about Boss, is the nostalgia works the other way for me on them.
Yeah.
Because I just remember them as being the worst of the worst. They were with Pyramid at that point. But now they have an Elite line, which is a lot different than what it used to be. As a matter of fact, they had reached out to me, and I'll probably respond back and get one of them just to try so I can see.
Yeah.
But, you try to be as unbiased as you can, but there's always some bias in what you're thinking. And it has to be like, they have to shock you for you to be like, oh, well, actually, this is a lot better than I expected.
Well, so, I mean, the cool thing about Boss is like, I feel like now I know half the staff there because they're all like friends of mine. And it's like, oh, you get to work for Boss. Like when Jeff left, I go, you're not going to work for Boss too, right? It's like, no. I was like,
that would be, wouldn't that be, that would have been insane.
So, Jason, I have an answer for your question. Why these European companies don't make their software work on a Mac. And it's the dumbest reason ever, because I asked Frank and what's Gladen's first name? Jeez. Anyways, I asked those guys, I said, would it kill you to make this shit work with my Apple computer? Because like, that's all we use here. All right. Like you make me carry around this archaic Windows machine. And they're like, no, it would not be hard at all. Actually, the first run of the software was made on a Mac. And I go, what the fuck? And they're like, so here's the deal. Slow it down. Here's the deal. So people that own Macs are typically creatives, meaning they do like photography and movie making and all this stuff that does not translate out to audio people doing DSP shit. And I go, wait a minute. Are you guys on crack? Like, you do understand that like Apple makes one of the most advanced auto editing softwares. Like they've made it for years.
Yeah.
And why what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, so basically the artsy fartsy people that own Apple computers, you don't think are gonna own DSP?
Yeah.
Like, you do understand how money works, right? Like, they're the people with money because they're dumb enough to buy a comparable Windows machine for 4 times as much. Like,
yeah.
Are you nuts? Like, did you not pay attention to the study that was like, the guy that owns this, drives this, owns these shoes, buys these clothes, and eats out this many? Like, did you guys not read? Of course you didn't. You're fucking 12-volt guys. You're dumb as shit. Yeah. So it's literally, that is the consensus in Europe of why they won't make it on anything other than Windows, is that they don't think that client uses their stuff.
That's ridiculous. I would argue that almost every high-end DSP tuner would use a, not every, but a lot of them would use a Mac if they had the option.
Well, you have JL and Audio Control are the only 2 ones that work on a Mac, and I'm like, I had to use a Mac today, or I had to fix a JL machine today, and I was talking with my buddy Eduardo, and he's showing me how to do these things on it. And he's like, he's using it on his Mac, and I go, fuck yeah, that's right. I could just open my Mac. God damn it.
Yeah.
Is it true Arc Audio makes audio control amps? So here's the thing. When it comes to who they make stuff for, I have no idea. That is like butt pinched off secret. Like, they don't talk about any of that shit. because they can't. So even if I went pointedly and was like, look, it's got your address, they'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like there's your fingerprint. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I don't know. They can't. Those are the things that we have no access to, which is fine because I want access the other way. So it's like, we could hammer that point and get nowhere, or we could say, all right, so what are you guys going to do next year? Which is way more exciting to me because I don't care whose shit they're making.
At the end of the day, it truly doesn't matter because if you remember Zed Audio, they made stuff for the cheapest of the cheap. They made Planet Audio stuff. They made Boss stuff. They made some really cheap stuff, and then they also made some pretty high-end stuff. So it's about what the customer's asking for. A manufacturer's capable of doing, a range of things. They can do super high-end, or they can do the basic of the bass, and you'll have, instead of the burr brown components you need to work, you can use the name because it does have the burr brown digital.
That was one of the funny things, like that we were talking about with Brad, because they design a lot of stuff for other manufacturers, and there was this design that they had, and on paper it looked fantastic. Like on paper, like the nerds would all look at it, all those guys that look at that shit and be like, oh my god, this has to be fantastic. And Brad was like, and that's the misconception, because it's not about the parts, it's about the parts cohesion together. Right. And and everyone was like, you're full of shit. And he was like, okay, fine. So we took the product, he downgraded all the components in it that needed to be downgraded, built this amplifier, brought it into the room, and played the version of it that they were selling versus the version of it that he knew would sound better. And it was like night and day different in sound. And it was probably one of the best sounding amplifiers they had ever heard. And it was not the best amplifier, meaning on paper it looked like total shit, but performance wise it kicked the shit out of all that crap. But that's the problem, is that a lot of these people get hung up on, oh, that signal noise ratio looks like crap, or that slew factor, or slew rate, or that dampening factor. And it's like, no, it's like, you guys are looking at one thing. All this stuff has to just work together and make it all be fantastic. And he proved that point, and then it was like, oh well, shit, all right, well, never mind.
Right.
So we're gonna make that amp? No.
We said it a million times before. It's like they're just checking what they think they're supposed
to. Boxes.
Like, do we need this, this? That's a good amp.
Yeah. So, and the nice thing is they have a sound room there, so like they can literally get any amp, put it in the sound room, take a listen to it, right? And like the cool thing is it's a lot like Kicker in the regards of like stuff comes back in there and they can repair, rebuild, manufacture, do anything they want in facility. Right. So they have the ability to do all that stuff. So they can get a design in, get it up, get it modified, make it work, put it in the sound room, listen to it, see how it sounds, A/B it against another amplifier. I was like, well, that's freaking cool. And I was bummed because we were actually supposed to do that, but we ran out of time. And I was like, God damn it. Because he's like, I have this new design. You guys want to hear it? And we're like, because it didn't have a heat sink on it, so we didn't know whose it was. So that would have been cool. But I'm with you, man. One of the things that we did was I said, Brad, I was like, can you explain some of this shit to me? Because I am not amplifier. Like, I could say words, power supply, stiffening capacitor, output device, but it's not my language. And he made it sound very easy, and I was like, you suck. He's like, this piece here to do that.
When I'll do like the amp dyno and the gut shots, that's why I never never point anything out. I show it, play a little music with it, and then we move on, because I understand. I got the first layer of the onion, maybe 2 layers max.
Yeah. And to me, like, I'm not gonna pretend like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's just dumb. I'm just gonna show it to you. Hey, for all you guys out there that just want to see this stuff, here you go. It's cool looking. If it, like we just looked at the Morel amp, and people, I was like, these look cool, and I know what they are, and I know what they're there for.
Right.
And it was like, and there again, they have newer versions of those that are covered now in shells to reduce any interference in the amplifier. And theirs were these open ones, and they looked really cool. And it's like, oh, those are neat.
Right.
And there again, I was having him explain to me the windings of the amplifier, how that all means something. And I should have wrote it down because I knew as soon as he told me I was going to forget it. Because that's another thing. They always, guys are like, oh, I'm going to add another wound. And it's like, well, wait, what is that for?
Exactly.
And why are you doing that? And he's like, oh, it has to do with the magnetism that's in the center of this and how that. And I was like, okay, I mean, it makes sense, but no, you know? So yeah, I mean, yes, it would probably take me like 2 weeks of asking the same question every day before it totally hammered home. And I'd love to bug somebody that much, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, could you just write down the basic shit for me to look for?
Exactly. Yeah.
Explain what this is and why this is important. But yeah, I mean, and there again, that's not my role in all of this. My role is not to know that stuff. That's, because you can't know everything,
No.
and I don't want to.
Well, as far as that goes, like, I just don't care to know any more than because you can be tricked. Even if you understand the basics, if you're not advanced level, they can make it look like everything is the way.
Well, and that was the point Brad was making, is that it's like, yeah, on paper, this looks fantastic. It's beautiful. Let me build it my way, and you'll see that it's better. And they're like, whatever. And it's funny too, because we've actually heard that before, when talking to some designers and also some manufacturers, and it's always Burr Brown. I don't know what it is, but it's always Burr Brown.
Burr Brown, damping factor and slew rate. If you're on any SQ page, that's love that. They love it.
So there was a DSP that got made, and they had to use Burr Brown chips in it, and the manufacturer was like, listen, let's not use those chips because these chips will work better. And like, I don't give a shit. No, we're using these chips because the name will sell more DSPs than actually making it sound better. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That's it. I mean, you latch onto something, which goes back to the beginning of the show. US Amps is trying to latch on to these old guys' pocketbooks that were fans of that stuff. And they were like, man, I wish I had my old amplifier. And they're like, oh, now you can. Oh, I always wanted that big one when I was, now I got adult money. I can go buy that. And it's like, yeah, you sucker.
Well, when I first got back into cardio with the 12-year gap or something like that, I started picking up old amps that I could never afford back in the day. And I'd done that for several years, and then it just hit me like, what? Why? Why am I doing this? Like, I'll install them in a vehicle. It's way harder than anything new.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound as good. It's inefficient. And it's like made me narrow down to stuff I just want to keep that I think is cool.
Yeah. Well, and there again, I feel the same way. It's like there's, I look at stuff and I go, that would be neat. And then I go, maybe not.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. I should have one of those. I don't want one of those.
Right.
I'll talk myself out of so much shit.
Yeah, it's because you got like, I need 100 watts by 4. Perfect old school amp for you. It's only 23 inches wide and 12 inches, or 23 inches wide, 12 inches tall.
So,
wow.
So Moscone in the Pro line was, we had the 430, right? So they basically have a couple sizes. They have the 10 size and they have the 30 size. So you got the 530, you got the 430, and then you got the 210, the 110, the other 110, or the other 210 ABA, or whatever the hell it is. But you have that small one, you have that long one. And then you have the 830. And so they just came out with the 230, which is a AB 2-channel amplifier, big. It's like 330 watts a channel. It's a ton of power. It's like, we were missing this. We're like, were you? Yeah. So you can put it on some. And I said, all right, well, can I get 3 of them? Well, why you want the 3 of them? Tell us. And I go, well, I want to do a 3-way set. So Tweeter, I knew it. I told them, you Americans are crazy. You put on tweeters, Frank. Tell him what you said. Tell him what you said about the 230. That I want to put on the tweeters. See what he said? These Americans are nuts. They want to put it. They're gonna put a 230 on tweeters, and oh my gosh, why would you do that? And Frank, you're like, that's dumb. And you're like, yeah, but it matches.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. Like,
and we're American. We're stupid like that.
Yeah.
And
then on top of that, we're gonna set it with the DM the DD1, so we can get maximum power to those tweeters.
Oh God. Melissa, you should make it out to California and go say hi to everybody at our.
Yeah.
I think you'd have a good time. It's really cool. It's very small, but it's really cool.
Yeah.
Folk out blacks. Yes.
Yo, when he was asking about the A, so I've had quite a big experience with the A series, and I think they're bangers and they sound good. They remind me of like older Image Dynamics subs, like the old IDQs.
So that's the joy as far as art goes. We can't sell any of the stuff other than the Blackbird and the DSPs.
Right.
So I get to go. Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I go, wow. Like Brian had a RS tweeter sitting in his shop, and I was like, oh, is this the RS tweeter? And he's like, yeah. And I mean, it's got a big chamber on the back of it, for acoustical dampening and all this other shit. And I was like, so does this come off? And he's like, no. It's like, I don't know. I'm just asking. I mean, does the grill come off? He's like, no. And I was like, why not? I don't want a grill in front of my grill. He's like, well, I mean, you might be able to. No, don't peel it off. And I was like, all right, well, don't put it on there. I mean, look, I'm just telling you what I want. I don't have to sell this shit. He's like, fuck you. Oh, he went to. Oh, very nice, very nice. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just funny. So yeah, it's like we only get to play with their amps, so it's like cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard their speakers, but the sub. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I have. But the subs I can vouch for, like personal use. That the A series is entry level, right?
I do have the high end shallow mount subwoofer, the one with the magnet.
Ooh, I heard those are dope.
Yeah, I do have one of those, and I don't have anything to put it in.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. I figured this out tonight because we were putting the AP4.10 in, and I was like, we need to change out the speakers to Prima speakers because I don't remember what speakers we had in Haley's car, but I was like, it kind of makes sense that if we're gonna do this thing with them, we should have Prima speakers in the car. And I have a brand new set that I bought. I paid for them,
right,
up on the shelf that we'd originally bought to put in Sue's car. And I bought all this stuff and I never did anything with it. So they're just sitting there, and they've been sitting there for probably 2.5 years, just sitting in the box. And every now and then I'll look at them and go, I don't know what I'm gonna do with those. So I was like, all right, well, we should put them in Haley's car for this video we're going to shoot. And then we can always take them out, put some more Morels in that we have back in. And I was like, Brenna's like, what? I said, this is definitely the problem I have. Like, I will never use these speakers for anything. But the thought of putting them into something and getting them dirty, just kills me.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, we took out the Morels that we had in there, and he's like, these are fine. Like, we're just gonna put them back in the box. I said, I know, and we can use them for anything we want. They're perfectly fine. We can still show them. We can still, but because they've been in there for probably a year now.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like where you can see like some water on the magnet, right. But otherwise they're super clean. And I don't know, it just drove me nuts, man. I was like, Jesus Christ. It's so dumb. Dean heard the arc shells. I think he'd agree. Oh no, they're like, I've heard Brian's many times. I've heard, and they are fantastic. The problem you have to realize when it comes to subwoofers and me, I really don't give a shit. It's just bass. It's just as long as I can get enough bass out of the driver to make the customer happy, I don't care what the name is. I really don't. I have a few subwoofers that I personally like, but not enough to be like, these are the. I'm not drawing a line in sand, putting a stake in the ground. It's like, yeah.
as shallow goes, like TW3s they're pretty dope. In the shallow, out of the shallow subs I've heard with, as far as output and sound, they are, but they're expensive. They're not cheap.
I gotta tell you, for the price, the L7Ts are phenomenal.
That's the one I was gonna say. Like, if you don't have money for a TW3, L7T is the way to go.
You can buy that in their preloaded box, and it destroys.
And if you want a little more bass output, and you can go a little bit deeper than a standard shallow, the Sundown, I forget the model number, but they have it's not truly shallow like these other ones, but they have a lot of output and they sound pretty good.
Well, the other one is Audio Mobile.
Yeah, they brought that back. They had they're still doing underhung motors, right? That's what they were famous for back in the day, was the underhung motors. And then Crystal was another company that did it like that.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is the guy that runs it. He's like always like, check it out. I'm like,
yeah.
I know Ada uses the shit out of them. You know, we've got enough of it thrown at us. It's like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Do you want to send me one?
Exactly.
You know, I have the new Morel shallow sitting there. Hopefully, the box is finally going to be built, so we can put that in. That thing looks incredible.
They're nano. The
carbon nanos,
the 6.5s,
yeah,
those are obscene. Those are just obscene, man. The way they put out equal amount of output as a regular.
They put out more,
and
that was what we did last year before last, when we did 2 trainings with Morel, and we built them we built them the enclosures with the regular Virtus and the reverse carbon nanos.
Yeah.
And we would A/B between the two in the crowd and be like, all right, which one you like? And they're like, that one hammers. And we're like, okay, that's the nano. And they were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, yep.
First time I heard those, I was like, my God, there is no way.
Dude, those are in that Range Rover that we did. And it's so funny because the door is so shitty. And they're just like fucking bang, bang. I'm like, I thought they were blown at first, because I was like, oh shit, we blew out of these.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no fucking way. There's no way. And I'm like, Fernando, check. And he's like, dude, the whole door's rattling. What are you talking about? Speaker. He's like pushing on the door, and the speaker sounds great. And I was like, oh, okay. I like this. I don't give a shit. Yeah. He's like, dude, he goes, this thing needs so much sound treatment. And I'm like, no, it needs a new door. Like, there's not enough sound treatment in the world to make this thing not rattle.
I have to weld some metal in there.
Oh yeah. That's how I should get another set of 6.5. All right, hold on. There we go. 6.5 tweeter. I want cost about the same. Okay, Dean, I have a decent set of 6.5s in my door. I'm trying to decide if I should get another set of 6.5s or pair with some tweeters and a 6.5 and tweeter. I want cost about the same. Do you understand what he's saying?
I think he's saying he has a pair of 6.5s in his doors.
Yeah.
Has a set of tweeters. He wants to know if she should buy 6.5s to match with the tweeters, or just another whole set, and it's about the same cost. I would say it depends on what sets we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That matters. Like, if it's a really cheap set and you have decent tweeters and you're trying to get a decent 6.5.
So this is one of those things I struggle with, because like, you already have a set of speakers, right? Or whatever it is. You already have something, and you're like, I want to change it, and it's about the same amount of money as what I've already spent. To me, that's just a waste.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I get the whole, like, I want to buy something, I want to do this. I mean, obviously, a set of components is the way to go. But the difference between, let's say, a $300 set of components and, let's say, a $600 set of components is a huge difference. And I know that's one of those things where it's like, bro, I don't want to spend $600 on a set of components. Yeah, you do. You 100% do. You just don't want to wait. You know? Right. Over there again, a 6 to 12, whatever the number is, but keep the 6.5s in the door, get rid of the 4x6s in the rear. 4x6s in the rear. Oh, so you got a Chevy.
Yeah, I would definitely get rid of the 4x6s, 100%.
But no, actually, no.
Really? I would just have a nice component set, and that's it.
Yeah, but you know those four, like I've done like that Chevy. We put 4-inch back there. We put 4x6s back there. There's like you can't fit a 6 back there because the grill is only this big. So even if you put a 6, you only get half the 6. So it's like, oh, what a waste. You know, if there again, to me, what makes those magical is a DSP. Okay, I don't care what size speaker it is, as long as I can control it, I will get it to sound the best that it can. You know, the problem is like a cheap set of 4x6s. Like Rockford has their Power Series 4x6s, which are really nice.
Right.
But they're not going to match with everything else. You know, you have to match what you're doing. Yeah, it must be an extended cab Silverado for sure, right? Yeah. We've often debated on whether or not we should cut it and put a 6.5 in there, and I'm just like, why would we do that? Like, half the speakers are gonna be covered by the door panel, it's gonna rattle. So,
and the only instance I'd add them in is the same instance I have rear speakers in the Trooper, literally for loudness.
Yeah,
because I'm testing big subs and amps in there, so I just need it for loudness. That's it.
There's a half wall with 412s in the extended cab part also. So, like for me, what we used to do, this was cool. So when we would do walls,
yeah,
bro, on the side curtains and across the top, we would just pile those with speakers.
Yeah, I mean that's
so
how
everyone walls that shit off now, and it's like, why would you just not throw an array of 6.5s right there, or 5.25s, or you know, like something? And I mean, hell, I did 6 or 8 4-inch drivers in one.
Oh, you know, it'd be cool.
That's what I could fit.
You just wanted to go straight up old school, and you're not trying to SQ. You're just trying to get loud, right?
Yeah.
Like build an angled 6x9 on top of it because it's a half wall. He said so. It probably goes up.
Yeah. An array of
6x9s or 8-inch full range speakers or whatever you want to do.
So remember plate speakers?
Yeah.
Like ADS used to make plates, and JBL used to make plates. Yeah, so we would take those and just put plates.
Yeah.
Just line them down because they didn't need any room. And yes, the 7-inch Kenwoods are phenomenal speakers because they come with the bracket to fit from. Yeah, but they're 7-inch are just the problem with the 7-inch is I think they got dwarfed by the 6902 and 6903, the 6x9 set.
Yeah.
So it's like because we used to talk about the 7-inch all the time, but now with the 6x9s, it's just like they've kind of just like gone into the background
with the yellow they're kind of Kevlar-esque cones.
The Kenwoods?
Yeah.
The set you used to have?
Yeah.
With the big brass auto former in the front of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, how many do you want?
No, listen, for how much? I actually like those, but I will tell you this, like in
we have 6 pair.
My experience with those is they are different than almost any other components that I've used because that mid has to play up pretty high. The XR, it has to play up pretty high. I don't know what it's crossed over. To me, it sounds like it's 7K or something like that.
Oh wow, that is pretty high
with the tweeter, but with the passives. I tried them passive and active, and when I went active, I went like 6.5K on the tweeter. So that's like higher than I've ever had a cross tweeter over in my life. To make it sound right.
It doesn't tell you what the FS is on the tweeter, did it?
I don't remember. It probably did.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised though, because Kenwood is really conservative on their tweeters.
Yeah.
Like they don't. I think they have a we can't blow our tweeter policy. Because even on the XR, like the original XR, the problem with those was the tweeter. It was very non-exciting. It was like the mid bass was just so amazing, but then the tweeter is over there like
it's very mellow. It's mellow.
For sure. And you're just like, come on, guys, like let's roast this bitch up.
Like, dude, if you put a super tweeter, not a super tweeter, a really nice tweeter, with that mid, dude. I mean, because those
the newer version of the tweeter is much better. So the current version of those is a much nicer tweeter, way more exciting. And yes, Paul still has those. Bro, we have a lot of speakers that like within the last like
they got replaced and they're just
yeah. Like dude, I found a pair of high energy 6x9s from Hertz that was a $550 pair of speakers when that first came out.
Yeah.
And those things are like those were the craziest 6x9s. Like holy shit, those things rocked.
Yeah.
And we still had a pair, and I was like, because they brought them back as a Neo loudspeaker. And I was like, we ordered those. And I go, what? Dude, we had these? It's like, I didn't know. It's like, dude, I literally had you order those Neo 6x9s to replace, to try to be like these. And we had a set. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
Hey, man, it's okay. It's nobody's MECP. Everyone should be, but the old school SQ is almost gone. It's all PA speakers nowadays, horn tweeters, ear bleeders. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure it's not as, it's definitely more popular than SoundQ, but I don't think anyone is.
I would say this, like compared to sound quality competitions I remember back in the day versus now, it's much louder. It's much louder now, more dynamic. I would say they, like back in the day, they got a little, like they had their T and the pinky up. They were a little, the nuance of this. And they still do that now. They still do that now, but they also, like, it can play. Like, they'll play to 140 dB sometimes, or 135, or 130.
110. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. No, I'm not fine with 110. I'm lying.
No, it's bro, it's shit.
Like, to me, like, if you're in the 125 range, decibel wise, like, and you're rocking, that's
130 or nothing, bro.
Well, there's one class where I think that might be
a
requirement, like 130. So
yeah, you gotta hit 130. That because the Cadillac won't hit that.
Yeah.
And Brian was like, that ain't gonna happen.
It will let you play it at 85 dB.
Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, that's the show. Thanks for playing along with us. We hope you enjoyed whatever it was that we just did for an hour. I don't remember.
US Samson Orion.
Sure.
I was gonna say we're sorry, but sorry, not sorry.
100%.
Just prove us wrong. Like, you might come up with something awesome. We'll have to eat crow. That'd be great.
Not gonna happen.
I don't think so either, but you never know.
There's no way it'll happen because somebody else will have to build it for
them. Oh man! All right, if you want to hear more nonsense, we do a show after this, and I got a harrowing story about the cruise I just came back from.
So. Oh, I can't wait!
Yeah,
I can't wait.
So,
all right, guys, have a great night. We'll see you next week.
We will see you next week.